Would you have backed down to Lenny McLean?
I wouldn't back down from no man. That's the honest truth.
So how many fights do you reckon you've had in the streets?
I don't know.
I've heard in the thousands.
The belt Roy Shaw gave me, like, bless his soul.
That was
like,
the governor belt, wasn't it?
Yeah, I loved Roy Shaw.
And what was your career like in unlicensed fighting?
Billy McPhee dislocated his neck.
You dislocated his neck in a fight?
He was terrible, horrible, trying to kill me.
How did steroids make your mind feel?
I started hurting people, you know, it wasn't me at all, like, you know what I mean? All the death threats mixed up and people being killed and shot and suicides, even my best friends were killing themselves, like, it got too bad, like, and I needed to be put away.
Norman, welcome to the show, mate.
Rock and roll, who's the governor? I'm the fucking governor! Hey, listen, I've only picked that up with my granddad at Barnet Fair. He used to give it all that, like, you know what I mean? And it's going back nearly, you know, after the Second World War, probably even before the First World War. Then I heard, who was it now, the governor? Roy Shaw, Lenny McLean, like... And it's always stuck in my head, like, you know what I mean? All I can do is shout it out, like, I could never be the men they are, but, you know what I mean? I've seen it all, it's been fun.
No, this is quality, mate. Let's roll all the way back. Where did you grow up and how did you become such a notorious street fighter?
Aylesbury, I was born where I live now, like, in the same property as I was born in, like. I don't know if it was in the mobile home or the house, but I was born somewhere. Grendon Underwood. That's where I spent a bit of time. I spent a bit of time in Woodall there. It was the actual prison. I was actually born where I ended up for a little time.
So you were born in the prison, you say?
No, I was born in Grendon Underwood. That's where the prisons are.
Okay.
That's where Grendon Underwood prison is, and Spring Hill, the open prison, is, like, you know what I mean? So it's sort of home from home when I got put there, like, yeah.
And you said you're in the same house now as you were all these years?
Well, what it is, my gran owned the big house. She owned the big house. She had the bungalow built next to it, what was on her ground, and she gave the house. She bought it. She gave the piece of ground and the bungalow to my uncle, like. And she said, "Look, he's greedy. Like, the rest of the property is mine. It's not his." And that went on for years, like, you know what I mean. And my dad died, my nan died, and she at the end left me the property.
Okay.
And he's come up with these deeds that no one knew he had it. There was no deeds. Like, he's come up with these deeds with these signatures on, like, and it wasn't her signature. My uncle Glyn was alive. I went to see him. He said, I took him to court. I said, that's not his signature. He said, no, Your Honour, that's not my signature, like. But because I was illiterate and I wasn't educated, like, they got thousands out of me. Anyway, let's get on with something else.
What was childhood like for you?
I thought I was mentally retarded, like I couldn't read all right. But I loved everyone. I come out, you know what I mean? I wanted to be a monk as a child. I loved everything, you know what I mean? Animals, flowers, people. My mum was from Cork City, like. She come over after the war with my grandfather and Mary O'Sullivan was my grandmother, and Pat O'Sullivan and Maura O'Sullivan. They did like a drink, like, but they come over. I didn't realise until my daughter looked it up. You can look it up in files what's happened to the family now. And the rest of his family, when he come to England, they went to America. And she contacted them, and they must have went to Alice Island and from all there, like. Because she contacted them, and they said, yeah, we're related, like. And she said, we didn't know that the Paddy O'Sullivan was the brother what never come. So it's funny, I've got a family over. This family, we all got family all over the world, but we don't know.
But for you as a kid, though, in school, what was school life like for you? Did you find it easy to learn? Did you play sport? What was it? What was it like?
Fucking useless.
Yeah,
I was a retard. Even I know I shouldn't laugh at myself. It was wrong. It hurt, like. But even cross country, the girls used to overtake me, like, you know what I mean. And I remember they wouldn't let me play the bat and the ball, cricket, golf. Was it golf? Cricket. Which one's with the stumps and that, like? cricket, like. And they wouldn't let me play. The school used to pick out, even at football teams, everyone would pick their boys and the other boys, and I was always last. No one would pick me. And if it was Christmas, they would stick me in the goal because it was the muddiest place, like. And of course, I used to get full of. I had trouble learning. I just couldn't read all right. It come out years later what it was. I didn't know, but
When did it come out when you realised you couldn't read or write? How old were you roughly?
Well, when I was in prison, like we had this. There was teachers. There were everything in prison, you know, especially Woodall.
How old were you when you went to prison?
I must have been about 30, the early 90s. It must have been. I should imagine just when the 90s.
30, did you say?
I must.
What was your world, Norm, when you were growing up? Did you find out that you were a strong boy? Did you know how to have a tear up? What set you off there?
No, I was soft as fucking. I was soft as lights. I think it was in Spain when I used to get a kicking going to school. Like I was all right when my brother was there. We got sent to Spain as children, like, you know what I mean.
Hold on. You got sent to Spain as children.
Yeah, but my mum, like, she'd the Irish side. She was like a Viking, like she was as white as a ghost, like with this great big beehive. And she must have been about 5'6", and she used to wear her heels, so she looked about 6'6", like, you know what I mean. And she had a bad temper when she'd had a drink, like, you know what I mean. And the old man was quiet. He's 5'4", but he come from a fighting family, the Bucklands and the Coopers and Travellers and Bensons are the Travellers, the Gypsies, and no, the Jews were the Bensons. It was a mixed flurry of the family, like, you know what I mean. He was a nice fella, and my mum was a lovely woman, but I don't know if she took beatings as a child off her father, or she had the same as what I had, like she couldn't read or write either, and it used to make her really bad-tempered, like, you know, and they couldn't live together, so I was as soft as anything, and I think my old man wanted to hard me up, so I got sent over to Spain to live with my grandmother, with my brother.
How old are you?
We was about 7 or 8 years old, like.
Whereabouts
It was
in
18
Spain?
months. Javier,
Okay.
Costa Blanca.
Yeah, I know.
That's just up the road from Alicante, isn't it? Yeah.
And what was that like for you, knowing you're going to live with your nan at that time?
Well, it weren't too bad because it was only for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I wondered why my mum was crying. I didn't realise I was stupid, wasn't I? She was crying. Like, obviously, you know, I got the elbow, didn't I?
The old Spanish elbow.
But what a lovely place to get the elbow, like the Spanish people.
So you went there for holiday for a couple of weeks?
Yeah, there was no coming back. It was a one-way ticket.
Oh, so it was a one-way ticket.
It was.
And how old were you until you came back? How long did you stay there for?
I kept coming and going all the time. I mean, I'd have family. It would be lovely. Family coming over there, my cousins, my aunties, my uncles. And I've just lost my Uncle Danny. He died last week, didn't he? Danny Buckland from Aylesbury. And there was a picture of him like on a horse and wagon. And it was a traveller's side of him, like, you know, it was beautiful, like, you know.
Did you say your old man was a traveller?
What it was the grandmother, her father was a traveller.
Okay.
And she got brought up with her grandparents in the East End, and they were Jews. I'm surprised how many Jews come from the East End, like. And she married Alfie Buckland. He come from Kentish Town or Camden Town. They had a market on Camden Market. And I was surprised how the Jews still own a lot of London, you know, the Jews. And she'd lived through the First and Second World War. She used to talk about the Boer War as well. And she used to have this stick light, and I don't know, I used to go down the dump light where they used to dump the rubbish and catch mice. I was an animal lover and bring them home. I was all right when I kept them in a tin and a little glass thing over the top. It's when I kept them in cardboard boxes, they kept chewing out. And oh, it was crazy. Like, she used to beat me with a stick. Like, you know what I mean?
Your nan?
My nan, bless her.
Really?
Yeah, but I loved her. It was
okay.
She come from she's brought up by her grandparents, and we're talking probably 17th, 18th century. Like, you know what I mean? She was born late in the 18th century.
So were you growing up with the travelling community?
No. It's funny, but I used to hang out with travellers for some reason. What happened, this is crazy. I remember she used to cry watching World at War. If you can imagine yourself, like, watching World at War, late 60s. The 60s was the first I ever went over to Spain for 3 months when I was about 6 or 7 years old. And I went down in the port, like, and had the bulls running about down the port. It was fantastic,
Yeah.
like, you know. And even then, like, you know what I mean, I could get on one of the boats. They used to put me on one of the boats and watch the bulls. And when they used to get near the harbour, the boys used to jump in, and sometimes the bulls would follow. And up the town, El Puerto, ahí arriba en El Pueblo, they'd have the bulls at night time. They'd have gas canisters on their back, and like fire coming out of tubes, like from their horns. And you'd be watching them, like, and they'd toss people in the air, like, and people's clothes would go on fire. And I'm sure there was deaths, like, you know what I mean? And I liked the wild side, you know what I mean? I felt wild with the Spanish. I suppose it was a gypsy in me or something. And I liked it. But we got sent back over to when I was about 7 and 8. My brother was 18 months older than me. He was tough. My brother was a tough boy. He eventually went on to box for England. Like,
What was his name?
Alfie Buckland.
Okay.
He's a Mason now, so I got to keep him out of things because they're funny handshakes and all that, like, you know. But I know in the Masons they've had criminals before in there, like, you know, and that's the way it goes. Bless him, he's done well. He keeps his nose clean now, and
Good.
you know, he's brushed up a lot of things.
And
like,
what was your world like going up into your 14s, 15s, 16s, 17s, 18s to earn money? What was your movements?
I was working down in Spain as a kid. Like, every time I come back, every 6 months or a year, I'd come back for a little while, maybe 6 months or a year. My Uncle Danny on the market, fruit and veg, they used to take me up to Spitfield Market.
Yeah.
And I used to go up there, and you still see them shaping up, like, because that's the East End, isn't it?
Yeah.
Spitfield Market. And you see the pub there, Jack the Ripper, because he used to do the poor East End there, Jack the Ripper down there. Another bloke called Jack Flash, whatever his name was. Then you had the First World War, and the Second World War, they flattened it. They were bombing there. Why was the East End? Is it because it had factories and that? But they spanked the East End, didn't they, with bombs? And it wasn't only the East End, like, it was London, like, you know what I mean?
The docks, trying to block off the docks, weren't they?
Was it? Yeah, because I think that's where a lot of
all the ships were coming in.
yeah, well, that's where all the tourists were coming in. That's a lot of the British, like, they say they're English, but I mean, before the Ice Age, England was England. There was no one living there, and it's because of the Ice Age they come over from Europe and the Pakistan. I mean, like India, they come over. It's mainly the Romanian gypsies come from India, like, you know what I mean, and the Jews, they come from out. You know what I mean? It's and originally from there they come from Africa. It's history's really. I used to love history.
Did you?
But I don't, because I go on and people don't know, or they know too much and I don't know. And it gets confusing. It's good because if they don't know, I can come out of a load of books. They wouldn't know any difference. But I get someone in history. They can give it. Be writing in there. He's not right there. We don't come from Africa. We come from the North Pole.
Quality. Tell me when you first started fighting.
I got levered on the beach by a German woman. I couldn't work out. I was saying to my grandmother, how come it's like just over 20 years after the war, and they got these great big villas, these great big mansions, and these great big Mercedes. And I said, didn't they lose the war, like, you know what I mean? And there was parts of Germany completely flattened. I mean, Russia took a big chunk of Germany off them. French took over a part of Germany. Britain took over a part of Germany. I mean, even Canada took after a part of Germany. So I thought they were completely bankrupt. I thought they were finished, like. But I don't know if it's the Nazis, or I don't know if they had buried gold somewhere. But I was on the beach, my grandma was there, my Auntie Josie was there, like. And obviously they come from the East End. And my grandmother used to tell me, like, when I used to watch World in Action, like, she used to cry, like, and spit and us. And it was Hitler she hated. I didn't know someone could hate someone so much. And I said, why have you got it in for him? And I didn't realise we come from gypsies and Jews, like, you know. And she's saying when you come out the lines, like, you used to hear the dogs howl. But that must be the asylum.
Yes.
Do you ever get that where the police wagons go past and the asylums go off and your dogs howl, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it must have been the sirens what set the dogs off.
Sirens? The sirens for the on the old bill wagons?
Yeah. The sirens to get the people down, like for a bomb shelter thing.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't alive then, so I don't know.
So when did you first start fighting? When did you realise that you were a good fighter? When did you start working the doors?
I work at 10. I was 10, but that was Bedgrove. Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Even the fellow who wrote my book, he said, I can't put that down. I said, well, that's my truth, like. I said, and everything he wanted to know, like, I'd say, well, phone him up, and he'd check everything out, like, you know. He's written a few books before, but he said, you had a fight with 5 or 6 and you'd done them all. I said, yeah. I said, don't you believe me, like? And he said, well, I've been talking to your brother, and then I talked to his mate, and I talked to someone else. I said, it was like that I said, but half the time they were pissed, like, or on drugs or something. I said, when they were on speed, you had a little bit more trouble with them, because they used to go down and get back up. Oh, they were murder on speed, they were.
When did you first start working the doors? What age were you? 10,
Bedgrove Pavilion.
You were working the doors at the age of 10?
Yeah, with my brother. Great big dicky bows we used to have, like that.
At the age of 10?
At the age of 10, yeah. And this is what I said,
Where?
Who wrote my book, darling?
Where?
Bedgrove Pavilion. That's in Aylesbury.
Okay.
But it used to be my dad's disco, a Friday, Saturday night disco. Like, I mean, that would be flipping Slade and Gary Glitter and flipping, I don't know, all those lot, like, you know what I mean? It was, but he would look after us, like, you know what I mean? I think he sent me over to Spain to be brought up with my gran because I was a softie, like, you know what I mean?
Did you get toughened up, do you think, by living out in Spain?
Oh, fuck me, yeah. She would whack me about with a walking stick, like, because I was a mummy's boy. She didn't like, she loved her boy. It was Alfie Buckland. She loved her boy, like.
Which is your brother?
My dad.
Oh, your dad, okay.
And my brother's called Alfie Buckland.
Yeah.
And my son's called Alfie Buckland.
My son's called Alfie as well.
Oh,
lovely name, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you were 10 on the doors working at your old man's place. As you were getting older, you were realising you were getting bigger and stronger.
Yeah, at 14 I was full-time. That was the Bucks County show, now ago. I was there, and that's when I started moving about, and I think I was doing the under Civic Centre. I was doing the under 18s discos up there.
And what do you remember? What sort of year we're talking here? Are we talking the 80s, 70s,
nearly
70s, 80s?
Like 70s.
Okay.
Yeah. Like 70s.
And you've been working the doors for over 40 years.
50 years, yeah, about 50 years, yeah. Yeah, I can remember, like, who was it now? All the old fucking groups used to be fantastic, like Bay City Rollers. No, that come later. But first it was Slade. I loved Slade. I used to love listening to Slade. Yeah. Elton John on it, and Rod Stewart, and you know what I mean? It was
Rod Stewart, what a legend.
Yeah, it was a great, you know. Yeah, he was fantastic. Like, it was the disco, and the old man used to look after us. My brother was a bit handy, like. I was more of a gentle-natured person.
When did you start getting into your first fights on the door where people were wanting to have a tear up with you and your brother say?
Well, then, when I had 10 years of age, like, to get a clip around the ear, wouldn't they? His little brother, like. And if it was anyone bigger, like, they'd get a clip around the ear off my dad, like. You know? One Alfie Buckland to another Alfie Buckland.
They're all in trouble.
The granddad was the tough one from Kentish Town. Kentish Town.
Your granddad?
He used to fight, and this is the gospel, because I've been told by a lot of people, like, and my dad never lied, and my grandmother, and Barnet Fair he used to fight. They used to call him the governor there, Barnet Fire, and when he used to get in the ring, he'd want to fight anyone. So I was really impressed, like, I was taken in by that. And she said when he was 14, there was a fella there whipping his horse, like, and I suppose they had horses. I don't know if it's a horse show or anything. And he got in the paper because he took had a go at the geezer, pushed the geezer, took the whip off the geezer, and started whipping the geezer. And they put it in the paper and everything like this, that, and the other, like. But I believe my grandfather wasn't, and this goes on now, because going home, like, one of my sons got 2 dogs, French bulldogs. My daughter's got a husky. Another son's got another dog, another parrot, family parrot. They've all got animals around them. Yeah. And I think that come from my grandfather. Yeah. He used to have greyhounds all the time, like, you know what I mean? And it's surprising I love a bit of history.
Same.
I was passed
I grew
down,
up with cockatoos. We used to have pet monkeys. We had Alsatians, Doberman.
Oh, we got
had the lot.
Parrot,
Parrots, Canaries. I think it was.
Yeah,
I think it was a
canaries.
East London thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, my granddad, my
Always,
dad.
always animals around, and my kids as well.
Yeah.
Always animals around,
Yeah.
and my uncles and aunties. I just lost my last Uncle
Yeah.
Danny.
So let's just roll back a bit here. 18 to 30, you got banged up at the age of 30, didn't you?
Yeah.
What was
yeah.
your life like from the age of 18 as a proper adult to 30? Can you remember?
18. Yeah, it was difficult for me to get a job. I was always on the door. I got a bit of work on the building site. I was weekends with the door, like everywhere, like Civic Centre. It used to be a great place in ours. They say they knock it as the worst town. Some people like, you know what I mean, but it's not. The traffic's the worst traffic in the world, because there's there's I don't know. It's a terrible traffic. The Aylesbury's good. In the 70s, they had the Civic Centre, and that used to, like Rod Stewart would go there. The Rolling Stones would go there. All the top.
Were you running the doors there?
No, I was working for a bloke called Dave Williams.
Okay.
He was a coach down the boxing club.
Okay. And what boxing club was that?
Aylesbury Boxing
And is that
Club.
where you used to box?
Yeah, originally,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you enjoy that? Do you enjoy the boxing?
Yeah, I didn't. It took me a long time to learn. I didn't know what southpaw or orthodox was like. I just, you know what I mean? I was just a fighter, really, to begin with, like, you know.
So you say that you're just a fighter. Did you enjoy fighting?
No, I never really, I didn't like hurting people.
Okay.
But it had to come in time, like, you know what I mean? As a kid, I didn't like hurting people. It's strange, like, even the other night, I was on the door, Saturday night, wasn't it, darling? I was on the saw that Saturday night, and I got in between the argument and the boys. And when it's girls fighting, I generally give them a lolly, like, and they, no, well, I want that. I said, but it's a magic lolly. And they look again, like.
It calms
"What did
everything
you
down.
Well, yeah. I said, it's strawberry. I said, could you say no to strawberry? And by that time, you've won them over, and the argument's stopping and that. Like, I said, I've got one for you, but you're naughtier, so you get this later. And sometimes it's funny things what can break trouble up in arguments. Anyway, I had this sweet, and when he come out, the doorman's going to take a drink off him. He said, no. And he took the drink, but I think he threw the drink on the floor. He should have just put the drink somewhere. And I think it was the fact that he threw it on the floor that insulted him, like, you know. And I've got in between the doorman, and I can rap, like, this is what I do. I can rap it all day, and you know what I mean? If they hit me, I'll say, I'm a fucking granddad. You can't hit me. I'm 100 years old. You know what I mean? I'm a pensioner. You keep hitting me. Stop hitting me. Everyone stop getting shot. And I try and break it off this way. And I give him, I knew he was going to go wild. I give a boy a sweetie, he fucking goes mental. And he got this sweetie, but it took the argument off the doorman onto me.
Okay.
And he goes, bloody racist and everything. I said, no, I come from Africa. He said, what do you mean you come from Africa? I said, well, not me, my ancestors, like.
Yeah.
He said, what do you mean your ancestors? I said, we all come from, we're all brothers, we're all human beings.
Yeah.
And he laughed, you know what I mean? And I think he forgot about anything.
Totally
walked
diffused.
off, like, just totally diffused, like, you know what I
Genius.
mean? I said, we're all brothers, mate, really, like. I said, you can spit them. Do you know, I wouldn't even mind, after the club's cloned, being a shoe shiner.
Yeah.
You know, when they come out of the club, if they got problems or anything, like, jump up there, like, give it, all right, governor, how you doing, all right? We go up the apple and pears, You're sitting on your deaf and dumb, are you? Hey, well, that one, that's not clean. I'll do that one as well, like, and keep them sweet, like.
Yeah.
I'd even open doors for them.
Yeah.
It doesn't, I don't mind, like, you know what I mean? When I meet even a gangster or a criminal, and I'm not saying it's good, but they're like celebrities to me, gangsters, like, you know what I mean? And I'd, yes sir, no sir, I'd love, you know what I mean? And especially people like Freddie Foreman. I love Freddie Foreman.
Freddie's
like,
quality, right?
Oh, he's gorgeous, mate. He talks about London when he used to come out the lines, out the railway stations down below, and the bodies would be on the street, bits and pieces, like. And my nan used to tell the same, the East End, like. And even the Crays, I'm not sticking up with the Crays here, like, what they done was wrong. Things I've done, things you've done, things everyone's done is wrong. But they did go for the Second World War along with Frankie Fraser. Well, I think Frankie Fraser was robbing the shops more than he was down and hiding from the bombers, like, you know what I mean?
What was your? I want to know what your world was like when it got turned upside down when you got put in prison.
I needed to get put down. Like,
Okay.
The world had got the better of me, like, you know what I mean? I started going twisted, like, and the drug dealers, I had some fierce rows with the drug dealers, like, I'm not saying, like, I mean, I know drug dealers and I'm friends with them, it's none of my business, like, and what they do is their business, like, you know what I mean? But not where I worked, you know what I mean? And not giving it to people around me, like, you know what I mean? I've got a fella now, he's a lovely fella, like, he stays with me. He's been with me for years. He come from Hartlepool, went to Milton Keynes, walked from a bus from Milton Keynes to my place. He stayed with me years before.
What's his name?
Uh, Michael Caddett, like, you know. And he said, if you turn me away, Norman, he said, I'm dead, like. And he looked like a skeleton, didn't he, like. And I looked at him, like, I said, this is going to be hard work, this is, like, you know. And I said, he slept for months, like, you know what I mean? Slept for months. Clear, don't even drink now, like. And she said, he's like a son to you, like. I said, he's the only son what does what he's told, like. And he's been with, so I've got a heart. I do feel for people, like, you know what I mean?
How did you get banged up? What did you get banged up for?
Yeah, I mean, towards the end with Sunrise and a few other places, I used to hire myself out. I used to go anywhere.
So just break that down. Sunrise, the old rave, the old rave scene. Were you working on the raves, were you?
Yeah.
Okay.
All over the country, yeah.
Okay, give me some examples.
Sometimes for other... Tony Hayter. But Tony Hayter gave me... Do you know Tony Hayter?
No,
Have
I
you
don't,
heard
no.
about him? He was a very, very intelligent boy, like. I mean, I worked for him when he was a kid. He had arcades, machines in arcades, like. And he come from Winslow, isn't it? Winslow? Yeah, Milton Keynes way, you know what I mean? Milton Keynes was a brand new city.
Yeah,
Milton Keynes
right.
wasn't there when I was a kid,
Yeah.
like. And I watched Milton Keynes. I had my eye on Milton Keynes because it was growing and growing. It was like a Vegas, like, you know what I mean? And he'd have machines in some of the shops over there and this, that and the other, like. And he'd be only a kid, like. He'd say, Norm, come and work with me, like. He'd go and look after. And I'd go in there when he'd cash up the machines and everything. He'd be only a kid. He'd be only about 9 or 10 stone, skinny, like, you know what I mean? But the girls liked him, like, and
So was he throwing the parties, you saying?
he was throwing the parties.
He was throwing the parties and he
yeah.
was saying to you, come and give his hand, come and protect the front door for me.
Yeah, I was working for him for years.
Did you enjoy working on the raves?
I was a doorman, yeah. I enjoyed being a doorman.
Yeah.
I didn't like bullying, I didn't like hurting people. But I done my job, and if I would come to get a good beating, I could pull myself together and, you know...
Someone said to me the other day, there's one person who's got the biggest pain threshold in the country, and that's Norman Buckland.
Yeah, I used to get my nose broken and ribs. I've got my solar plex inside out. I've got another operation. I've had my sternum, my rib cage... my rib cage is the spine up the rib cage. I've had that sawn open twice, and they've been pulling things about and doing this, that, and the other. It was the body punches. If it comes to the worst, I say, look, boys, what, you tough boys, are you? They say, yeah. I said, so what are your punches like? You know what I mean? Can you hit hard? I mean, because you don't seem that hard. Like, you seem like you're little. Oh, no disrespect. I mean, I'm sure. Let me see what you're like. Yeah, take a jacket. Oh, I'm not going to fight you. I'm going to see what your punches are like. And I used to stand there and say, look, give me what. Whack, they'd go, like, you know what I mean? They'd bounce off me, the punches and everything, like. I don't know, I do now, because it must have caused me a lot of internal pain, like, and stuff, but I didn't know, like, you know. But even now, my solar plex, I blame it onto Matt Legg, because I used to teach him the punch. I used to say, punch through the solar plex and hit the spine.
And he's got a punch on him.
I've seen him break punch machines, like, you know, at the fairs and everything, like. I had him work
Lovely
with me
fella, Matt, isn't he?
What a beautiful fella.
Lovely fella.
I had him work with me 3 months ago, about 3 or 4 months ago, out of town, like. Someone's made a phone call. Cobra, was it Cobra? Cobra made a phone call to someone else and said, can you get Norman Buckland? This is a martial art offence, and some of the boys want to see him up there. And when I got there, they said some of the boys from so-and-so, they reckon I said, I'm a bit old for fighting now. Like, I said, I don't want to fight. Like, I said, I'm too old. I said, I'm a doorman. I've always been here to stop fighting. You know what I mean? And he kept on like Cobra. I said, listen, mate. I said, I'm not being funny. I said, come here, look. I said, I've got my boy with me now, like Matt Legg. Like I said, listen, if anyone wants to come up here and have a fight, and Matt was listening, and I said, they can fight my boy in the ring tonight. Of course, they didn't know who Matt was he? He used to beat world champions.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, Matt was the man.
Sparred with Tyson Fury, had a fight with AJ.
He had the punch machine. He kept looking at the punch machine. I knew if he hit it, he would break it. And I had to look. They put me on a punch machine all night, so people would come up. Like I have a crack with them. Like I had a few people. Some people knew who I was. Other people didn't. But I seen the other day on YouTube again. Like he punched a punch bag and it won't go. It just won't work. Yeah. And he'll come over and Matt's broken the punch machine. Like, and these are the heavy the punch on him. I say I've only been I didn't know what happened. I was up sparring with 1 minute, and I was on the floor the next line. I couldn't work out what was happening. I told my boy Brandon Buster, I said, get in there and spar with Matt. Like, and I stood there like, and I couldn't work it. He must have done so, knocked me down or knocked me out or something, or knocked the fight out of me, something like that. And I thought this is never going to happen again. I'll never let it happen again, like. But it was a new experience. It was like being tear gassed for the first time in your face. I mean, the first time.
That's a compliment to Matt, isn't it? Massive.
Yeah, no, he didn't think anyone could knock me down. Well, he was part of the Travellers used to come down there. I mean, I didn't even know who Lenny McLean was. I bumped into him because I was working on his patches and everything. He got the ump. But
who got the ump? Lenny McLean got the ump. You working on
his boys? Yeah, his boys got the ump.
Where were you working?
At Wembley Arena, up Wembley, like. And they've obviously phoned him up. It wasn't exactly with me. I'll calm things down. Michael Dick was a pro boxer from Aylesbury, like. And they were giving the heavies, like. I used to look after the merchandise, like, the prints. And I was working for a bloke called Vic Bellamy, Starguard Security. Northampton he come from. He gave me a load of work, like. I used to go all over the country for him, like. And I didn't know... This is incredible. I didn't know there was pirates. So what you do, like Michael Jackson, who I can say now, like, I was watching a documentary the other day, like, and this boy is growing up to a man now.
Who?
The boy who was supposed to abuse.
Okay.
And he's saying, no, he didn't actually abuse me. Like,
is that right? Is that what we said?
Yeah.
I've had Michael Jackson's bodyguard on here.
Yeah.
He said the same. He was like, well, who knows? Who knows?
But what makes it strange now, the boy was in Home Alone. You know, the little
McCulkin.
kid. The little kid,
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And he's saying, look, he said, honest to God, he didn't do this to me, like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know.
So
like
what was your relationship like with Lenny McLean?
Well, I'd see him a few times. I used to work down Kentish Road, Camden Town. And that was like home, because that's where my granddad come from there. The grandmother come from the East End, like.
And do you remember chatting to Lenny McLean?
No, I was fascinated. Like I'd never seen anything like it in my life.
What made you fascinated by him?
The appearance.
Okay.
He just had this. He was honestly, mate. You know what I mean? I'm not. I've never seen. Fuck me, I more or less fell in love with him. Like you know what I mean? The arms, the movement that he knew. Like he knew what to do. Like you know what I mean? Like a horse jumping in the air, you know, a stallion fucking doing all that stuff, like, you know what I mean? Or Tarzan fucking jumping off a waterfall, like go swinging through. I thought he's the real thing. No, honestly, mate.
Yeah.
He stood about 6'3", and he must have been his 40. I should imagine just before he died, a few years before he died, this is in the 80s, I was about 25, 26. I was at my peak then. I wouldn't back down from no one. Like we had trouble with the security. Like I had a word with them, Michael Dick. I said, you're out of order. You can't. And I said, look, lads, I've got the fucking pass. We work for Prince. And I said, what's happening? Like we generally work outside and take all the T-shirts off of people. Like. And sometimes something like Prince or Jackson, there'd be hundreds of thousands of T-shirts. So someone's making like hundreds of thousands of... It's all I never knew this went on.
Yeah.
And then you'd have the touts. That was nothing to do with the touts. I'll let the touts go on whatever they want.
Yeah.
But sometimes you'd have van loads coming from Liverpool or coming from Manchester.
Was there any ever trouble with Lenny knowing that you were on the doors there? Did he ever come up to you?
No, he got the boys. He got the boys.
What did he say?
Yeah, the
What
boys
happened?
got-
What happened?
No, I looked at him and I liked him. I didn't know he was
Would you
Lenny.
have backed down to Lenny McLean?
I wouldn't back down from no man. That's the honest truth there. Now I would. I'd back down from you. I'd back down from you.
Yeah.
My wife beats me up all the time. Like I've got no choice but to back down from her.
But you wouldn't in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. You wouldn't back down to no one.
I swear to God, I wouldn't back down from no one. What were they going to do? Like beat
Yeah.
me with a walking stick? Were they going to kill me? Shoot
Yeah.
me? There's nothing. I've been treated like an illiterate all my life, a backward, retarded kid. Like I've had to come forward and front it all by myself.
Yeah.
Like obviously, I have my dad, my family around
Yeah.
me. Like so, nothing really bothered me. Like you know what I mean?
What happened that moment then when Lenny knew you were on his doors? How did that get
He
diffused?
come up like
What'd he say?
He must have been paid well. He probably got about £500. It was behind the morals, like you know what I mean. They were scared because this fella Michael Dick was a professional boxer, and he would have probably torn them apart,
Yeah.
like you know what I mean. I said to him, "You can't talk like that." I said, "Lads, what's happening? We work outside the venue. You got the pirates out there."
The what? The pirates?
The pirates. They should be a book. I'm going to have to get Vic Bellamy to put a book out there. People didn't know what was going on.
What's a pirate?
A pirate's people who selling dodgy T-shirts.
Okay,
they'll have
all
a
the
factory.
snidey T-shirts.
I think they were coming
Okay.
from Ireland because he even had trouble with the IRA up in Leeds. We had trouble with the IRA. They were supposed to shoot back Vic Bellamy. He was 6'6", about 25 stone. And I was trying to work out how can I could get in front of him to catch the bullet all. Well, it's fucking like that. He was.
You'd have taken a bullet for him.
I would have taken anyone I worked for. I swear to God, I would have taken a bullet for them. But I swear to God, I got used no end of times. I was loyal.
Are you saying you got used? You think over the years?
I got used all the
Give
time.
me an
I was a
example.
doorman,
Give me an
like,
example
yeah.
how you think you got used.
I mean, the job before last, when I come out of hospital, I had my stern broke, and they had to put wires to hold all the stern together. I don't know what they've done. It's the rib cage,
Yeah.
the spine.
Yeah.
I don't know if they glue it together, but it's a
Yeah.
major operation.
Yeah.
And the fella was a multi-millionaire I was working for, and he had a few factories there. Like he'd upset a few people, and he didn't want no one coming around. He had a beautiful manner and that, you know what I mean. And when I went to work for him, he come up the. I was on the door at the Bell, Winslow. I was at the door. I worked for a lovely bloke there, like, and the people were there. Buckingham, like, no, it was just before Buckingham. I worked in Buckingham as well. That was beautiful. The people there were lovely.
How do you think you got used over the years? Did they just say you was a massive lump who was really loyal?
Yeah.
Like you say, take a bullet for someone, protect people.
The
Did you get paid well?
Well, the worst it got, like, is like I said when I come out of hospital, like, you know what I mean. I don't think he believed anything I told him. Like I'd been away because he kept phoning me up to get back to work. I said I can't. I said fucking I'm dying. I'm fucking this, that, and the other. And I come out and it's a shame. I had my wife. I love my wife, but I had to pay her fees and that was a lot of money. So I needed my job. And I won't say who he was, like, and he was a multi-millionaire, and I used to look after him, and he had people after him, this, that, and the other. And it was carry the fridge upstairs. And fucking my guts were wired up, like, you know what I mean? A major operation. And what was it now? I had to go out and fucking wash all the yard with this big gun, whatever, it blows water. The thing must have weighed 100 weight. And they said, when I come out of hospital, you'll have time before you can even carry a broom, like, you know what I mean? They said, your body's been ripped in half. I think...
How much was that geezer paying you, that multi-millionaire? How much was he paying you, Norm, to protect him if he had people after him?
What sort of money was I on, darling? £18. I was getting paid through his management, wasn't I? I was getting paid through he had his own firm and everything. He had his own...
Why were there people after him?
Oh, he'd pissed people off over the years, yeah. He'd upset people, especially with people's wives and stuff like.
And what was his world?
His world as factory, he was a grafter. He he done me a few favours. He helped me out. He got me off the door for a little while. You know what I mean? When I needed a break off the door.
Were you using drugs in between 18 and 30? Or was drugs not your thing?
No, I hated drugs.
Yeah, okay.
I knew drug dealers or people. I'd never get involved. Like what they do is their business, so long as they didn't bring it into where I worked.
Yeah, okay.
Or around me. Like I just didn't agree with it.
And would that wind you up if you found out they were serving up in there? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Because you were there to protect the club and the owner and everything else.
I was
okay.
a bit naive, really. I think my grandmother when she used to rear up at me like about Churchill and.
What did you get banged up for?
Me, firearms. Yeah. Someone kept bothering me. It was a silly thing. Kept bothering the doorman when I wasn't at the door, like, and I kept warning him and warning that. There was a few brothers, and while I was working over the Milton Keynes, I used to work all over the place. I mean,
what happened with the firearms?
The firearms. When we Jesus, I'm trying not to get people into trouble here, like. With the Sunrise, we ended up because the Sunrise. No disrespect, there was other ravers and other big groups out there. I can't remember all their names.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone done their bit, like, and people were saying that's not right because we done. No, you all done your bit, like, and I'll be honest, like, faces and names couldn't go together, like, but now, like, I see a picture of Cass Pennant, the big fella.
West Ham?
Yeah, I remember he had glasses on in the summer, like.
Black, tall.
Yeah, he was a lovely kid. He had books out and everything. Yeah. And I was trying to look at his eyes, like, and all I could see is a reflection of myself. And I didn't know if I was more scared of myself or looking him in the eyes, like. But he was about a lot of the boys. They all had books out, and they were about, and I did see them, but I couldn't put names to faces.
Yeah, okay.
Like. Anyway, someone got kidnapped up in London, and from the rave scene, Tony Hayter and Dave, we was a firm, like, and I never had nothing to do with the drugs or the never taxed anyone or anything like that, and they kidnapped him and fuck me, what they do to him. They took us up hospital, a little firm of us, about 5 of us. I remember who was with me, like, I'll name them because they've kept clean, well... Yeah. Now you know what I mean? It's the past and nothing.
Who were they? Who were the five?
Stephen Wilson. He's a tough boy from ours. We've been shot a few times, but when you shoot Stephen, you got to be careful because he gets back up and chases you down the road. He was a great boxer. He's been my sparring partner back in the 70s. Like, I thought he'd go all the way, like Hitman Hearns. Like, they're the boys. Like, he brought up in homes and everything.
And the other four?
There was him. There was Mark Marsh. Mark Marsh then had just come out from doing a 9-year stretch. But it wasn't even a real gun he used. It was an art of, you know what I mean? It wasn't a real gun. And he was set up as well. But it was in the 70s where he said the judges were just, he said, like, the sentence he got, he couldn't believe it. Like, and he said it turned his life absolutely upside down. But I'm sure he didn't want to be, or I didn't want to be where I was then, like, you know what I mean, on the way to London. Kevin Wilson was a lovely fella. He big boy from Milton Keynes. He was a tough bastard. He was a hard man. But what happened, we broke into Milton Keynes as it was getting bigger. You know, from Aylesbury, I'd go over to Milton Keynes and work, like, you know what I mean? It'd be Bletchley first, like, the Agora over there.
So what did you get nicked for? You said you got nicked for firearms. What actually happened? How did you get caught?
How did I get caught? No, the old Bill pulled me up. Like, I've come out of the car and put my hands up, like, you know what I mean? I had no quarrel with the old
What did
Bill.
you have on you?
Nothing. It was hidden, like, you know what I mean?
In the car?
No, in the hole.
Okay.
They said, why is it sawn off? I said, to get it in the hole. I had a saw. I didn't know what else to say. I said it was an antique. You know what I mean? Anyone what runs about with a sawn off 12 bore, any firearms, like, for the kids, I'm telling you now, like, it's wrong.
Yeah.
You know, you don't do it, like, you deserve to go into prison. Like, I was under the doctor at the time. I was on tablets and that. At the end, the door worker got to me, like, you know what I mean? I started going like loopy-loo, like, you know what I mean? The drug dealers pissed me off, like, you know what I mean? There was death threats, like, you know what I mean? I was busted up a few times, but it didn't bother me, like, you know what I mean? And when the shooters come out, you couldn't fight a gun. You know what I mean? The fighting got it was as soon as the 90s hit. The 80s were all right.
Yeah.
You could play about. I think they were on ecstasy in the 80s.
Yeah. Everyone was loving each other.
Everyone was loving it.
Yeah.
I could work anywhere in London.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I met Lenny McLean. He was a lovely fella, like, you know what I mean? He looked the part and everything, like, you know what I mean? But he come down, he done his job professional, like, you know what I mean? He come down, he looked about, he humped and rumped and walked about, like, and I carried on doing my job, like, you know, fuck it, like, I don't really give a fuck who anyone is, like, really, like, you know what I mean? I got involved with the unlicensed fighting, but it was ropey, very ropey. I mean, even Lenny had a fight with a bloke called a light heavyweight called what was his name now?
Roy Shaw.
No, weren't Roy Shaw, weren't Cliff Fields. What was his name now, darling? He thought he knocked Lenny out twice, but he weren't supposed to knock him out in the first fight. And this is what I meant ropey. When two men get in the ring, even if it's set up, it's not going to go as a setup.
Yeah.
Like, it all depends on, you know what I mean?
How long did you get put in prison for when you were age 30? What was your sentence?
I got 10 years. Got 5 for the firearms and 5 for the affray. And
what was the affray?
Scaring, frightening. Frightening. I can't go. It's in the book, like, I don't want to really go into it, like, because obviously now the man's a family man, like, and I think he's moved out of town and everything, like, and I spoke to him, you know what I mean? I didn't carry it on, like, when I got out, you know, and he was a bastard over the years. He hurt a lot of people, like, my mate Leroy Dennis, he was Howard Jones's mind there, he was working down the Rectory farm, and the man, his brothers turned up, like, and they just had it in for Doorman that night. And they smashed him up, like, with a firing canister can, like. I think the three brothers got put down, like. But he was never the same after, like. They called for me. I was over Milton Keynes at the time. They worked down the Rectory farm in Aylesbury. And I was with Leroy for years, like, you know. He got himself back together. He's a handsome man, black kid. He's Howard Jones's minder. He used to Civic Centre for Dave Williams. He used to work. He used to do world tours and everything. And back then we used to admire him. He was fucking handsome. Always had good-looking women around him. Beautiful, proper hard man he was, like, you know, in his prime. And I don't think they liked him, like, you know what I mean? There's no need for dude. And
5 years.
They hospitalised.
5 years for a fray. What did they break that down? Can you remember what they broke that down in when you got that sentence?
5 for a fray, 5 for the firearms. The fray was the gun to frighten.
Okay.
The gun to frighten. But the man was a cross-dresser anyway, so fucking, I mean, I couldn't, the man had kids, you couldn't kill him, you know what I mean? But I was fucking annoyed with him, maybe shoot him in the legs or something like that. It was stupid, I shouldn't have even had a gun. But the kids out there, like, it's not clever, it's stupid what I'd done. I was under a doctor at the time, like, my depression was terrible, like, you know what I mean? I was very stressed, and I think they was giving me some sort of medication and that, and I said, look, you know, I'm losing it. I said, I'm losing the plot completely. Can you put me away somewhere or something? And they said, no, in Tyndall. I said, I don't want to go there because there's lunatics there, like, you know what I mean? And obviously I was probably as mad as them, like, although I was a family man, I was earning money and people couldn't see what was happening to me, like, you know what I mean? But there was another death threat coming from another firm. They'd kidnapped one of the boys up in London. They'd tortured him, really beat him up bad, stripped him off, threw him in a van. He was on a house party. He shouldn't have been there. We should have been doing the door. It was for another firm, Back to the Future, yeah. It was Back to the Future. I remember we'd done Outer Skep. I worked for so many. I was hired out and worked for so many different things, like, and. It was terrible because his eyes are like that when we went to see him. I don't know what they'd done to him. They'd tortured him. His skin was all bloody. He's a black guy. He's a handsome man. And his eyes are like that, like. And I said to my brother, what the fuck? And he looked at me like. I said, they've done him up to deaf and dumb, haven't they? Yeah. And they're on steroids. They're probably... This is when the heavy cocaine come into it, like, you know what I mean? So as far as I'm concerned, there were a bunch of irons what done him up done him up the death and dumb.
Yeah. And when you came out, how many years did you do in total?
I think I'd done the 3. I think I'd done.
So you got a 10, but you done 3.
Yeah. It wasn't that bad. You know what I mean? It wasn't that bad.
And when you come out, were you a different man, or were you straight back on the doors again?
No. I was different. I was a bit wiser. I was still stupid, but a bit wiser. I learned. I'd done my homework. I'd done anger and management classes there, like, you know what I mean? I knew I had problems, like, and I'd done my homework. It's disgusting, really, because the wife and kids done the bird for me, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your family does the bird. We don't do the bird. You know what I mean? I can understand in dinghies these people coming across, you know what I mean, bless them, from whatever country, like, and going to a prison like Woodall, like, you're getting 3 or 4 meals a day. You're getting all your clothes. You get your clothes anyway. They give you clothes, track suits and shoes and socks and underpants and everything, like. You go there, you get your breakfast, you get opened up in the morning, like, come out. Last thing at night, you got to go and get the hot water for tea overnight. So you got this, that, and the other. Like, there's a TV room there. I quite liked it in prison. I'm not being funny, but my kids done. This is what hurt me. Like, the wife and kids, the family, the loved ones do the sentence, like. And even though I disliked the bloke, you know what I mean? I should have shot, like, he's a silly fucker he was, cross-dressed. What saved his life, he was dressed up as a woman at the time, like, a wig and everything he had on, like, you know. And I was fucking confused, like, but it was good, though, you know what I mean? But it was worth doing time for him, like, you know what I mean? Anyone, you know what I mean? Because he was a bad boy, he's a naughty boy.
What did he do to piss you off? Fucking
everything, like, you know what I mean? Just everything around you, like, everything, you know what I mean, coming in the clubs. And anyway, I'll not talk about it. I'll talk about prison, like, you know what I mean, because is
he in your book?
Yeah.
Do you mention his name in the book?
No, I won't. He's got kids.
Okay.
You know what I mean, and he's got family.
Have you seen him since over the past years?
Yeah. I spoke to him. I spoke to his brothers, like, and you know what I mean, and everything.
Everything
like,
sweet?
Yeah. No. Yeah. You know, I had to go away. It's a shame I had to go away for that.
Yeah.
But it could have been an innocent victim, like, you know what I mean? It could have been, you know what I mean? Fucking, I remember at one stage I was on the doctor come over to me and he gave me these. I've been down there with an axe to the hospital, like, to the doctors, like, you know what I mean?
You were down there with an axe?
Yeah.
To the doctors?
Yeah.
Carrying an axe?
Yeah, I wasn't going to use it. I meant I had to get put away. I knew I was turning, like. It could have been the steroids. I think it was all the death threats mixed up and people being killed and shot and suicides. Even my best friends were killing themselves, like. It got too bad, like, and I really needed to be put away.
Yeah.
But I was pretty good, like. I wasn't a drug dealer. I wasn't a tax man, like. I mean, friends were, like. Frankie used to come and see me. We used to go up and see Dave Courtney. Frankie come from Hartlepool.
Yeah.
He was friends with the tax man. The big, what's his name now?
I know you mean.
What's his name, the tax man? From
Brian Cockrell.
Yeah. I've got to say for Brian now, he's got a lovely missus. I talk to him on the phone. I talk to his missus now. And he's got to listen to his missus because she's a lovely woman, like, you know what I mean? And I think she's put him on the right road now.
Yeah.
And it's nice that he can talk about it now. You know, he wasn't good in his days. He's a naughty boy, like, you know. What he done was wrong, like.
What did he do?
Fuck me, what didn't he do? What did I get told? I got asked if I could have a word of him, like. I was watching one of his boxing videos, like, when he was younger, and I'm telling you the truth, the man could box.
Yeah.
Seriously box.
Big man, strong man, wasn't he?
Yeah, but this is before he went on the steroids, I think.
Yeah.
He looked like, I swear to God, like a white Muhammad Ali. You know what I mean? The bloke couldn't catch him because he just moved away, like. His movement was fantastic. His feet work was fit as well, like, you know what I mean? And he played with his geezer, like. It must have been something in the APAs. I reckon after that fight I see him in, like, because I said, I ain't going to fucking have a word of him. He looked good. He was a young, handsome man, like, you know, tall, fit. If he stuck to that and just didn't get involved in the rest of the stuff, I think he could have turned pro.
And what was your nickname, the tax man?
The tax man, yeah, he frightened the life out. He used to move around. He went to Hartlepool for a while, like, and he used to frighten the life out of people. Literally frighten the life out of people, like.
Who were serving up? Drug dealers.
He used to tax them,
Yeah, okay.
He used to tax them.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a bad thing, like, you know what I mean? That's like I said, like, you know, I know dealers and there's tax people, but that's nothing to do with me, like, you know what I mean? I'm only a doorman. That's all I ever have been, a doorman, like. And if it means putting someone's shoe up here and shining it and spitting on it and giving it a good clean and putting it back on their feet and kissing their feet at the same time, I will, so long as it doesn't cause a fight.
Yeah.
And I didn't want people getting hurt. I just weren't that natured, like, you know. But at the end, it turned me. I started hurting people, you know. It wasn't me at all, like, you know what I mean. And I'd start being like my brother, like, you know what I mean. If they'd go down and start screaming, kick them in the head, like, you know. And do you know, even when I boxed, I'd hardly use any headshots. Used to always be body shots, because the headshots, if you hit someone on the street, especially if they had a drink and a head, it's the head. If they were 6 foot, their body would collapse and that head would fall 6 foot on the pavement, you know, and it could be a curb or something like, and that crack open and smash. And body shots, they weren't too bad. It would hurt them for a few days, like, but, you know, when you hit people, like, they got to go home to their wives. Sometimes they got kids. So, and I was such a sweet little doorman. I didn't, you know, I was a good doorman. I'm still a doorman now. And I don't like seeing people get hurt. But the mix of things, you know, I got mixed up with it, like, and I suppose it turned into anyone like back and Hitler in the First World War, like, you know what I mean?
What age were you when you come out of Nick at, say, 33, 34, 35?
33,
33.
Yeah.
What age were you when you
34.
started to calm down? When you come out of Nick, were you a different person, like you said? You come out wiser?
You come out wiser, yeah. The bloke I fucking... I reared up and then, you know what I mean? I did rear him up. I fucking blew his plant plots away and fired a few shots at him. He was a would-be gangster, but he went straight to the police, like, you know what I mean? And I blew his, shot his fucking car up as well, like. I was real pissed off with him. It was the depression, you know what I mean? I couldn't handle the depression no more, like, I'd really got enough, like. And...
When you come out of Nick, were you still pissed off with that same fella? How many years did it take to get...
No, I learnt discipline. I learnt.
Okay.
I done my homework in prison, didn't I?
Okay.
And I try to educate the people around me as well, like, because they had me on. They kept me on 1A because people knew me, and there was nothing to be afraid of. I was a doorman, and I got myself back into being a doorman, being a nice guy, like, you know, trying to help people, trying to be decent. There was no steroids in prison.
So when you were saying you calmed down, everything was nice and you weren't violent, and then you did turn violent, how did it make you feel when you went super violent? Did you feel you were completely out of control, like blackout?
It felt like when I'd get angry, I'd grow and grow and grow up to about 7, 8 foot tall, like, you know what I mean? And it don't matter what's in front of you, like. Even the first fight when I fought for Joey Pole, like, young Joey Pole. I love Joey Pole and Ricky English. They done a lot for me, like, and the boys. And we had someone in the audience what was fucking shouting out. He should have come in the ring to fight me, you know what I mean? But instead he was shouting about in the background, like, you know what I mean? And I looked at him, and the next thing I jumped. I was about 21 stone. I was a fat old man, about 50 years old as well. To me, it was like Pirates of the Caribbean, like, you know what I mean? What I'd already seen, like, had been like something I could never put it in with someone who's been into war in the army, like. But you know what I mean? I've seen it all. I've already been there, so that didn't mean anything. Like, I was straight over the ropes and knocked him out. Jumped back in the ring and waited for this fella. Like, he'd got out with his, and he didn't want to fight. Like, and Joey said, "You got to fight him," like, you know. And I had a word with him before the fight because it's ropey. Prize fighting's fighting. Unlicensed fighting's fighting. Professional boxing's boxing, like, you know what I mean? If I got in there and I boxed, I should have got in there and boxed and looked good, like, you know what I mean? I would have showed everyone up, like, and I was a good boxer. I could go, Well, I was taking the last fight. I was taking 3 rounds, wasn't I? Yeah, or 3 or 4. I don't know. I was taking the distance anyway, and it didn't really bother me. Like I dropped him in the last round, but I still had adrenaline. I had adrenaline rushes, like, you know what I mean. But I said after, I apologised to Joey. Like it was thousands of pounds of damage. Like everything had gone up and smashed, and
There's loads of people there as well, isn't there?
I felt embarrassed, like, you know what I mean. I'd let myself down. My nan used to read the tea leaves. My cousin used to read the tea leaves, the cards and that.
Yeah.
And they said, like, you know, you mustn't lose your temper. You got to keep your cool now. And they could see the future, and they could see that. They even said about the belt Roy Shaw gave me, like, bless his soul.
That was
like,
the governor belt, wasn't it?
Yeah, I loved Roy Shaw. I did. There was Tina. His son was an hard nut as well. Roy Shaw. Dave. What's his son's name? He's a tough boy. He's going to hate me now, ain't he? I forgot his name. He come over to Milton Keynes.
How was your relationship with Roy Shaw?
I worshipped him.
Did you?
I worshipped him to the fact that he had his family around. They loved him and looked after him. But there was people taking the piss out of him. Like he didn't know what he was signing. Like, and people were having him over. Like they got him a dodgy girlfriend, and there were a couple of people, like, and I started getting angry. I said to young Joey, like, you know what I mean? I said, this can't happen, mate. He said, it's not going to happen, mate. He said, you'll be taken care of. I said, get me a fight with him. Like, I was going to give him a fucking good hiding, like, you know what I mean?
Who?
I can't name him because he's not with us no more.
Okay.
And I can't say things with Joey and Dave and all those lot, you know what I mean? I can't repeat it, like. But my idea was get him in the ring, give him a fucking good hiding, like, and give him what he deserved. Like, I spoke to Tina about it, like, and when they used to go out towards the end with Tina, I used to go out with Roy Shaw as well, because, you know what I mean, people would take little liberties, like, you know what I mean.
Did you ever do any bare knuckle boxing? Any fighting? Any bare knuckle fighting?
Oh yeah, all the time. I had my own gym, didn't I? Down the governor's gym, down my place, she loves it down there, doesn't she? Down the barn. 23-foot ring, yeah. The Travers would come down all the time. You'd have some good fighters come down there as well. Professional boxers martial artists used to come down there. Even, bless his soul, the lovely guy, Alex Reed.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd come down there.
He's a good fighter, to be fair, isn't he?
He was good, yeah.
Strong boy.
Fucking... I don't disrespect him at all, like, you know what I mean? He could have a tear up. He used to do the flying back kicks, and I used to take the piss, like. And I said, well, give me one of your flying back kicks. And of course, nothing hurt me in the gut there. And I'm sure it's him, you, Alex. I think it's you what's giving me all these fucking operations, Alex. Of course, you're laughing, like, and you think it's funny at the time, but it's not. And I can remember 3 months later, I had something in my stomach up there, like, and I had to keep rubbing it, and it was like a footprint. It's where Alex Reed, before his world title fight, and he could put a fight up.
Yeah.
He's done this flying back kick, and I watched it back on video, like, it knocked me back about 3 foot or 2 foot. And I'd walk into it, like, and I used to walk into it and try and knock them off balance. Because even with the kicks and the punches, like, I used to walk into them, like, and even Matt Legg, the last time I sparred with him, like, I used to keep my guard high up, like, because he could hurt in the face, he could break a nose, bare knuckle. Street fighting, he was fantastic, like, you know what I mean? He was brilliant. I would have put him against Lenny after he come out of prison, like, and they would have had a good scrap, like, you know what I mean?
How would you think you'd have got on if you had a fight against Lenny?
Total respect for Lenny and Roy Shaw. I'd never say a bad word against them. They're dead now. They've got children out there, like, you know what I mean? And it's disrespect, not only to disrespect them, but their families as well. Like, he's got a lovely son out there. Roy Shaw's got a lovely son. He's going to hate me for forgetting his name. What's his name?
Is it Junior?
Roy Shaw. Even Lenny McLean's got Jamie McLean, isn't it? Jamie McLean.
Yeah. And how did
I've seen him spar on YouTube and that. He's quick with his hands, like, you know what I mean?
And have you seen lately that Matt Legg's looking at doing a bare knuckle fight for 10 grand? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I told him years ago, like, I said, why don't you have a crack at the governor thing, like, you know what I mean? I said, it's easy enough, like. I said, you know what I mean? I said, the boys they give me, I wanted chemo slice and, is it butterbean?
Yeah. Kimbo Slice, and he dead now, and he Kimbo
Yeah, he's
Slice.
dead
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
That was steroids,
Was
45
that Royd,
years
was
of
it?
age, yeah.
He was a tough boy, wasn't he?
Yeah, and who's the other one? The big fat geezer? Butterbean.
Butterbean, yeah.
Butterbean. I thought Roy,
Matt Legg.
yeah, Matt Legg was there. I talked to Matt Legg about that, and I thought he'd tell Ricky English. I love Ricky English. He was nice. He was good with Matt Legg as well. He looked after Matt Legg and Joey Pole, the old man Joey, and young Joey. But I wanted tougher fights, like,
Yeah,
you know what I
okay.
mean? It's not. It was just that I could take a hiding, like I could take a hiding for 3 rounds and come out there, and it was always when I used to catch them in somewhere in the solo plex. I think it's doubled back on me, and I'll pay for it now. They used to go out like a light in a solo plex, and the fist would always find it the way there, and I could get in there and enjoy myself, like, you know what I mean. But I was always all right with the boys I fought as well. I showed them total respect after the fight, and the first one, JJ said, "You won't stamp on my head, like." I said, well, what makes you think I'm going to stamp on your head? Like, I said, if you take a dive, I said, I think I know you take a dive. I said, I will stamp on your head, like, you know what I mean? So he wouldn't go down, would he? JJ, Jesus Christ. I had to hit him in the balls as hard as I could, a real good ball punch. Because after he was still screaming, he said, you've hit me in the balls, like. And I said, I told you not to go. He said, look, I can't even walk. He said, they've swollen up like coconuts. And the way I see it, it wasn't boxing. There was professional boxers there, yeah, okay, but it was prize fighting, you know. I went there to enjoy myself.
What sort of money were you getting on a prize fight?
A few £100, like,
Okay.
it wasn't great. I used to pack, wherever I went, I used to pack the arena out, like, and I mean, they were mixed in with travellers, like the family, like with travellers, fruiters, like marketers, scaffolders, everyone, like, you know what I mean?
How well connected are you with the travellers around the UK?
I went to watch Matt Legg fight with Paul Joyce. That really got me. I mean, Paul Joyce, he was 6'6" and over 20 stone. He was 19 at the time as well, like, and I was very impressed with him. Very, very impressed. I thought he could have even gone to the likes of our big fighter now, like the Traveller. What's his name? Who's the big world champion now?
Tyson Fury.
Yeah, I thought he could go up to that sort of level, like, you know what I mean?
Who?
Paul Joyce.
Paul Joyce. Do you reckon
He was bare knuckle champion.
Yeah.
And I don't think he ever lost an amateur. Up to then, he'd never lost an amateur fight. And it was a home show, and they went literally 3 rounds toe to toe, like, you know what I mean? And you had to know what fight was about to see the fights. I mean, Matt I've never seen him throw so many right hands before, like, against this giant of a man, like. And it was their home show as well, and there were all travellers in the crowd, like, you know what I mean? And I felt my heart went out for Matt. I wanted to go over and grab Paul Joyce's ankle and trip him up or something. But the travellers would have killed me, like, they would have just wiped me out of the way, like, you know, like nothing, like. And I knew that as well. He won it. How the fuck he won it? He won all his amateur. He was knocking everyone out.
Where did the book come about? Who said, right, let's write a book on your life?
Henry, he was Lenny McLean's friend.
Okay.
Henry Simpson, wasn't it?
And
yeah.
when did the book come out?
When did it come out, darling?
Last year.
2022, yeah.
And
The new governor.
The new governor.
Because what happened when I fought, there was Roy Shaw and Lenny McLean. You could never take it away from them. So I love the geezers to pieces, like, and their families, total respect. I would never disrespect them or their family. I would never say a bad word against them, nor would I say about the firm, you know, all the old boys, like, because to me they're someone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Me, I've never been nothing, but I don't know. I just keep cracking on, don't I? Yeah, really. And
what was that feeling like when you brought the book out for you? To know you got a book. If
Well,
you can't read or write, but you brought out a
yeah.
book. You must have felt proper proud of that.
Yeah, I didn't really. He kept phoning me up and asking bits and pieces, like, and I'd given people's numbers, like, you know what I mean? I said, well, he'd be there for this. He's written books for other people before, like, and I think he's had the books out and found out that it's not been the truth, like, you know what I mean? But everything in the book could be backed up, everything. And there's even stuff I didn't put in the book, like, you know what I mean? You couldn't put in the book. There's things you can't talk about, like, you know what I mean? I up until I went to prison, like that stupid little wanting to kill people disappeared then.
Yeah.
It's gone, it's never come back.
Yeah.
I've always said I left my demons down the block with a fucking next cell to Charlie Bronson, like, you know what I mean? I would have loved to met Charlie down the block. The exercise, they wouldn't let me out to exercise. I said, why not? They said, because you and Charlie. I said, I'd love to meet him. They said, no, you kill each other. They said, we've seen you kick off on where was it, in the visits, like, you know what I mean? But I didn't know what I was about, really. Like, I went to visits, and there's Asian boys, they're from Watford and Luton, with another gang of boys. They're big, yeah, there's probably about 10 or 15 people, like, you know what I mean? One of one lot, and their families are there, the others with the other family. I had my kids, and it was just a doorman's routine, like, you know what I mean? It was up, it was kicking off, the chairs started going over. The screws couldn't handle it, bless them. I've total respect to the screws and the screw S's. I love the screw S's because they used to look pretty, like, and they'd had a hard job, like, you know what I mean? And they were pretty little things, like, you know what I mean? And then the geezers were, some of them were my mates, like Tomo. Fucking, he sold me a dog. He told me it was a fucking bulldog. It turned into a fucking greyhound, didn't he? No, that's fucking greyhound. It was big as a camel, it was. And I fucking had a word. I said, what are you doing, mate? And I loved the dog. I couldn't part of it then, like. He said, no, he said the father was a bulldog. I said, but how come this dog's 6 foot tall, like? What's going on, like? I was saying to my mates, they said, do you use that dog at all? I said, I don't fight my dogs. They said, no, it's a race dog, it's a greyhound. I said, no, it's a pit bull or something. They wouldn't have it, like. And I went back there, like, and he laughed, you know what I mean? He said, no, he said the mother was a greyhound. I said, why didn't you tell me that? And some of the screws in prison were good as gold. Even some of them talk to Bronson now, like. And I said, why don't you let me out with him, like? They said, we was on visits, and it was kicking off, like, and I had the kids there, and I think it was just my temper, like, you know what I mean? I was watching it, that's it, right! Now fuck off! You bastards! Fuck off! That's enough! And you go, fucking get over there, you bastard! Get over there! That's enough! And I found he was angry. He wasn't hitting people or hurting people, but it was the aggression coming out.
Yeah.
What quieted everyone down, like.
Yeah.
And even the screws quietened down. But they come back, yeah, it stopped all the fucking fights and everything. And I used to, now and again, when even in visits or out in the yard or going to work, they had good jobs. I went education there. I learnt I had difficulties. I learnt too late that it was my brain was wired up wrong, you know what I mean? So really I come out, you know what I mean, sort of handicapped. But it was a shame, but I think my maker was laughing at me when he made me, like, fucking give him a soft nature,
Yeah.
and wire him up wrong so he's stupid. And that's the way I come out, but I've had to live with it. And
Yeah.
do you know, after all that, you know, I've got a beautiful wife, what I love. And if I had to live my life again, just to meet my wife at the end, I would, mate. You know what I mean? 'Cause,
amazing.
oh, I love her so much.
Yeah, I can
she
see.
looks after me.
I can
you know
see.
that.
I can see when you come
She
in.
baths me, she showers me, she dresses. And I want to dress myself. I feel embarrassed, like, keep dressing me. Like, oh, okay, all right, yeah. So, all right. Yeah, bar, you wash your toes in between your toes. Yeah, she'd come from heaven. Like, I got told about her years ago. My
What's
family,
her name?
Nanette.
Yeah.
Nanette, like, she's 20 years younger than me, like, but she's a carer as well. She works 7 days. She's just got a job on the 7th day and a fruiter's, like, you know, doing the fruit. And I'm over the moon because that's where the family's been. For the last 300 years they've been fruiters. My uncle's died, the last of the fruiters. I've got to say, Chris Doorman. Chris Doorman was a big influence on me in the fruit stalls and that. He was my cousin, like. I think he might still be in the fruiters, like.
How was your relationship with Dave Courtney? And tell me about Camelot Castle.
Oh, lovely. I used to love it up there. People used to want to go up there, like. They used to talk to me in Aylesbury, like, and to take us up there, like, I was like, I can't do that.
Explain to the listeners what Camelot Castle's like.
It's beautiful. You know, this sounds crazy, like, you know, you got the Tower of London,
Yeah.
and you go in there and you see the hawks and the crown jewels and all that stuff in there. Like, try Dave Courtney's castle. Like, it's exactly the same, and he knows how to look after you. Like, you know what I mean? He's a home bird. He loves it at home. He's never used me. He's one of the blokes who's never used me, never abused me. Like, I said, Dave, why don't you ever mention my name? Like, but he does. Dave, you do love yourself, don't you? He's got Brandon, I call Brenda, what looks after him. I'm probably jealous because I'm not looking after him. And he, you know, back in the day, he had some lovely women around him. Like, he had his first wife, she was nice. A girl called Storm, she was lovely. And they'd all look after him and that, you know what I mean? And frankly, Ross, I took him over to Spain a few times with me. Like, we had work. We used to get phone calls at home from all over the place, like, you know what I mean, different countries. Or went up Southall once. No, I went up to in middle of London. I knew how to get the train. I've been up there a few. Soho. They called me up there, and I went to this bar to work the night. And the money was brilliant. Like, they wanted me to work full time. And I didn't know. I said, no. I said, like, it's a bit far from home, like. And I didn't realise they'd fucking got me there on a gay night. And I had nothing against gays or anything, like, you know what I mean? But it was sort of all new to me, like. And I thought, fuck it. Half the time I went, I didn't know where I was fucking working, like. And it was things like that where I'd get work, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I know a lot of the boys, a lot of the gangsters and a lot of the boys out there, when I say I don't mention them, if I knew the names and faces, I have met them in the past. And I'm sorry, but I can't remember the names of Camelot Castle. Like, he had dungeons there. I wasn't into anything. I'm happy with a wife, like, you know what I mean? I was never. I mean, look at me. I look like a fucking rockfather. I don't know, a fucking pit bull or something like that. Definitely a fucking English bulldog, yeah. So I was never really the one for the girls, like, but Dave did. The girls loved him, and my mate, he always wanted to go and see Dave. People used to ask, and I used to take him up there. But David's hospitality, he is nice, and Dave's
got a massive heart on him.
Yeah,
he's got a kind heart.
People haven't seen that,
and people warm to him.
But I say to people, like, when I used to take them up there, like, I said, you got to remember, you know, he's run about with the craze for a few years, and I used to tell him, I said, well, what was it like, the running about for them, like? I mean, towards the end, like, and he said, oh, yeah. I said, what? He said, we had to shut this geezer up. I said, what? He said, it was embarrassing. He said, well, it wasn't Ronnie this time, it was Reggie. I said, what? He said, Reggie was giving him one in prison. He's coming out and telling everyone. He said, I had to go and have a word. He said it was embarrassing. And I thought, Jesus Christ, like, it's the only bloke I've ever, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think it was his way to say that it was wrong, you know, what was going on. I don't think Freddie Foreman and a few of the other Lambranos and that, they're lovely people. And when they got put down, Ronnie, he should have stayed. He should have done his bird. The best place for him was, like me, was to put him away. Yeah. But I got over it. Like, he didn't get over it. It was a mental illness he had. Like, and where he should have taken it on the chin and put his hands up and let his brother and let the firm go, he grabbed him and brought him down with him. Like, and some of them shouldn't have got put away. You know what I mean? Yeah. And some of them, you know, they're still sort of upset about it now, like, but that's the way I see it. Like, Ronnie should have done the bird, kept his mouth shut, like, taking it on the chin, and he took his brother down with him and took the firm down with him. They won't say that because they're loyal. I'm saying that because, I mean, if I would have met Ronnie, and I'm not disrespectful towards gays or anything, but he had a couple of his boyfriends with him, G'ing him up and that, like, I would have asked them which ones wear the knickers, like, you know what I mean? Is it you or the boys wear the fucking knickers? That's the way it is, like, you know what I mean? and really to follow in that pattern, like, you know, the youngsters of today, like, they lived through the Second World War, like, the bombs are dropping on their houses, like, maybe he was gay for a reason, maybe his brother, as logical, I haven't got nothing against gays and that, like, you know what I mean? But when they took everyone down with them, like, it didn't seem right, you know what I mean? And people are still loyal to them these days, like.
Norman, I've really, really enjoyed this episode.
Oh, Jesus, I can't help it. Things keep coming out my mouth.
Mate, we've done an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Mate, it's been really, thank you for your honesty.
Yeah, the truth is that it doesn't pay. And I'm no disrespect to the criminals out there. I love you even the drug dealers, the people who are dealing heroin. Please, mate, don't do it. Don't do that stuff. Like, you know what I mean? And they are called drugs. Come on, like, you know what I mean? Because you're killing people, like, you know what I mean? You're not clever, like, what you're doing, you know. If I could be Prime Minister, I'd have your arse, mate. You know, I'd come around your houses and that'd be it, like, you know what I mean? But I'm not. I'm just a simple boy, simple man, what's seeing it. And I've seen children have their lives ruined through drugs, like. I've seen boys come into prison, like, wanting to jump on, like, the bandwagon with drugs and the gangsters and the craze and everything, like Matt Legg. And I said, no. I said, no. I said, listen, I said, I've learnt it. What I've done, I said, I'm here to be punished and I deserve to be punished. The bloke, I fucking scared his knickers off. He shit his knickers, didn't he, when I fucking pulled the gun on him, dressed as the woman he was. I won't go into it anyway. No. I won't say your name on.
Norman, I really appreciate you coming down all the way down here today to the podcast studio.
I haven't started yet.
We're doing it a part 2.
Yeah, it'd be lovely, mate. Oh, there's so much more.
Yeah.
If you could get, because I can't help it. My stories go up and down and up and down. But I got brought into this world. Like, I think my mate was laughing. Like, he said, "The silly bastard. Like, he can't read all right." Put it so he can never read all right. So I've never been able to read all right. I need my wife. She's my white walking stick. And I'm lucky because she's beautiful. She's the most beautiful personality I've ever met in my life.
And you know what, Norman? You have got one massive heart on you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I fucking love you.
Massive, yeah.
That's what Dave says. Dave called me. I fucking love you. He does.
Mate, I really do appreciate you coming down.
And everyone, you've got to go to Camelot.
Yeah, Camelot Castle.
Camelot, go there. And he'll sit you outside.
He'll look after you.
Get someone to make a cup of tea, like, and he'll rab it onto about London and all the old and the craze and everything. Like, you'll have a great afternoon with Dave. Like,
you're a good man,
God bless you. Love
you're
you
a gentleman.
Pieces. Thank you, sir.
Good man.